I hope you understand why this is a little difficult to believe, miss, Rogel said. I know, but I don't know what else I can do to prove myself to you, came the voice through the magical speaking stone. Give us a few minutes to talk about it, please, he said, and lifted his hand away from the stone. Rogel walked back over to the rest of his patrol, his heavy armor clanking against the stone floor of the cavern. Can you sense anything from the person speaking? Asked Elier, their trap specialist. I did give the thing a once-over, and there's nothing I can find. Either she's telling the truth, or behind that door is where the bad things are. Portis closed his spellbook with a loud thwap. I'm not a history major by any means, but she said she was locked in when the Dark Lord Zul was conquering the land. That was over 1,000 years ago. Not even elves lived that long. If not for the sending stone still holding magical power, I wouldn't have thought anything was down here at all. Rogel removed his helmet to scratch his face. Could this place be connected to the wraiths we were sent to wipe out? No, wraiths come from corrupted souls, Portis said. We found the unmarked grave 3 caverns back, and Kay's talismans worked to cleanse it and send the trapped souls to the afterlife. The 4th member of the group shook a small wooden cylinder in his hands, letting 2 of the thin sticks slide out and reading the runes on them by the light of Rogel's enchanted shield. Truth, he said, setting the first stick down. And death, he continued, setting the second down. She does not lie, yet death still reigns these caverns. Elier shook her head. And you can't sense anything from behind that door? Not a single speck of mana goes through that door, Portis grumbled. The wards on it are unlike anything I've ever seen. The Academy of Melivane would pay us thousands of ducats to study it, I've no doubt. But as for what's behind the door, I can't say. Could she be a ghost then? Rogel asked. If she got locked in 1,000 years ago and no mana can leave, then could her spirit be trapped? Kay pondered it, and they waited on his answer. Possibly. But souls trapped like that usually either fade away or go mad. Rogel put his helmet back on. Then it sounds like it is our duty to free her one way or another. Portis, you have some spells meant for spirits other than wraiths. Scowling, the wizard flipped through his spellbook once more, marking 2 pages. Hardly ever use them, but yes. If you hear me chanting a spell with the word ziggurat, then be ready to get away from the ghost quickly. Elier adjusted her quiver and moved to one side of the cavern. Why? Will it affect us as well? There's a not insignificant chance that the ghost will explode in spectral flames. So, yes, Portis said. Once they were all in position, Rogel next to the door with Kay at his side, Elier well off to their sides with her bow ready, and Portis several meters behind the warriors. Only then did Rogel put his hand back on the speaking stone. Miss, we've come to the decision to open the door. Wonderful, she cried, the voice sounding as though she was holding back tears. But, how do we do that? There's no handles on the door. The start of what was clearly a curse word was cut off. Several seconds of silence later, her voice spoke again. If you lift the speaking stone from its mount, there should be a glyph beneath it. Rogel glanced behind him at Portis, who shrugged. So the warrior set his shield on the ground and cautiously lifted the stone. In the worn depression where it sat was a glyph made from powdered turquoise, magically fused to the dark granite of the cavern. Rogel set the speaking stone down, picked up his shield, and pressed his hand to the glyph. The metal doors gave a grinding and shrieking noise as they slowly pushed open, and Rogel and Kay readied their weapons. They were not expecting to be greeted by a skeleton, clad in a wispy, tattered dress with a blue-green glow coming from inside the ribcage and the eye sockets. It worked, the skeleton said happily in the voice of the woman from the stone. My name is Dana. She made a dip that was similar to a curtsy. Without a word, Kay whipped forth one of his paper-binding talismans, which anticlimactically fluttered to the floor instead of sticking to the skeleton the way it had to the wraiths. My apologies, he said, but we were expecting you to have gone insane from your confinement. She bent down, holding it between 2 bony fingers. That's a bit rude, but I can understand, I suppose. Dana held the talisman out to him. Could you bring me out of the caves? I don't expect my father's wine cellar is the next cavern up, and I want to be able to see the sky again. Feeling a bit silly, Rogel sheathed his sword. Certainly, Miss Dana. May I ask, how did you figure out how to open it without being able to? My father built it as a cage to hold magical beasts he was studying and turned it into a sanctuary only as the dark armies looked to be approaching. He locked me in with his notes, but only most of them. So the only way I found to open it was from the outside. She stepped carefully along with them, lifting her dress to avoid snags and dirt from the cavern floor. And nothing in his notes helped me dig through granite rock. Behind them, Portus brought up the rear of the group, muttering to himself as he tried to remember everything he could about the Dark Lord Zool, like whether he had a daughter.